if you have maxed out your effort, time, discipline, devotion to your business, and there is still a gap between where you want to be with your business and where you actually are, I want you to pay attention to something very important I'm going to talk about on this episode. And welcome to the From Grind to Grace podcast, the podcast for the alternative entrepreneur, the entrepreneur ready to flip the script, challenge the norm, and choose freedom first. Because here is the deal. It's not just an option. It's the must, because when you make freedom your path instead of it being just a destination, success just follows. And that's what you want for yourself, for your children, and for those you serve. The question is, how can you make it happen from the place where you are right now? And this episode specifically is about, I would say, one of the central pieces for you to pay attention to. And this piece that I'm talking about it's like a virus. It's like a disease in our industry. You know the way if you have a bucket with a hole in it at the bottom, you can pour as much water as you want, as fast as you want. That water is gonna still leak out. Or, if you compare junk food to nutrients-rich food, it doesn't matter how much junk food you eat, you're gonna get this instant, satisfaction. But it's not gonna nourish you. It's not gonna give you the nutrients you need, your cells in your body need, and it's just gonna deplete you. With time, it's gonna make you even worse rather than better. Even though in that moment when you eat that food, you might feel satisfied or your hunger satisfied. And so here is what I'm seeing in our industry. This industry is full of junk advice. This industry is full of junk marketing. And as I was sort of planning this episode today, I actually saw this ad on Facebook, and it says, one weird trick to instantly go viral on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. And I used to fall for these kind of ads, for this kind of information back in the day. And it doesn't matter how much I looked into this, those kind of things going viral on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, you name it, didn't bring a breakthrough for my business. And the reason why is because they are short-lived. You know that when you primarily build your business using Facebook, using TikTok, using Instagram, you spend so much time chasing the algorithm, chasing attention from people. There's so much noise. There are so many people posting just about anything, saying just about anything. And a lot of that is very low value. So on one hand, this is a chance for you to stand out. On the other hand, your audience is probably tired and, from all this information, and they are now hoping for something much better. And even beside the social, there is all sorts of advice around tech, around little tricks, bits and pieces, funnels, words. How can I say this thing better in terms of, is there a phrase that is gonna give you a breakthrough or is gonna get your people to pay attention? There seems to be a pandemic of people chasing these small things that carry very little value. And in order for you to show up powerfully, you need to bring a lot of value on the table. And by a lot of value, I don't even mean the quantity, obviously. What I'm mostly fascinated about, and I really want people to hear, and I want you to hear, is how every action you take, every post you create, every piece of content you create brings lots of value, so that you need to create less. You end up creating more by creating less if you know what really creates value in the marketplace. And it's definitely not information about steps and hacks and another tool. I see this all over the place, and it just makes me sort of like cringe or laugh sometimes, depending on how people present this. How to go viral on Instagram. Like, I just quoted this line from an ad. I don't know how many courses on how to create reels I've seen recently. Like, when I see that, my mind goes like, what the hell? How long have reels been around for? Actually, I'm not sure. I'm not following. I've only ever created like up to 5 reels in this whole time. But I know when I got on this journey and I started my online business, reels wasn't a thing. Like 6+ years ago, it was not a thing. Even stories was not a thing. I remember when I first started, and this is another example of how those tactics are so temporary. And for as long as I was chasing those tactics, I was chasing success and I was chasing freedom. Because when I first started in this online gig, I remember Facebook Lives was a big deal. And so I started doing Facebook Lives, a lot of them. I ended up at some point doing like 7 Facebook Lives a week, meaning a video a day. Regardless of where I was, what I was doing, whether I was at home, whether I was on holidays, I was dragging my laptop with me everywhere. And I called it location freedom and I called it time freedom, but the pressure of showing up every single day, being in the mood for that, knowing what to say, that was freaking real. And it was nothing like real freedom. But what was worse was that very soon after I started doing Facebook Lives, this tactic, the importance of Facebook Lives, dimmed. At some point, Facebook algorithm changed to not give much importance to Facebook Lives. So then what? Then you need to chase something else, another tool. They come up with stories or whatever. I remember there used to be watch parties. Everybody suddenly started doing watch parties, and people got tired and bored of watch parties. Then stories kicked in, then reels, then this and that and whatever. Then TikTok came along. And instead of thinking of how you can produce content and how you can show up with so much value that does not depend on any tactics, method, platform, algorithm. So many people, most people, are chasing all these new tools. Like, I do not have an account on TikTok. I never had one. And every time I see something, a short video somewhere posted, shared on Facebook that gets me to TikTok, I can't really watch it because I don't have an account, and I don't care. And I deliberately, sorry, did not pronounce this word properly, but on purpose, I did not create an account at TikTok because you know what? I don't care. I know it's just gonna be another shiny object, another thing to chase and learn and waste my time instead of thinking and doing something that has, guess what? Eternal value. If you want to chase all the new tools and be on top of all the new trends and fads, you are always going to be grinding because there will always be new tools. But when you remove the tools and focus on what you are saying and how you are saying it, that's how you can bring more value. Now, when I say eternal value, what does that mean and how do I look at it? Like, okay, so I learned about this, right? From my marketing expertise and copywriting expertise, I just learned about these things. However, what I was learning just kept bringing me back to the same place, to how humans think, feel, what they believe, and what they actually want and what they actually value the most. If you use tactics yourself, little tactics, short-lived tactics yourself, you're gonna grind. Also, if you tie the value that you give to your audience to the tactics, if you keep giving them information, steps, tactics, keep teaching them on reels, on stories, on going viral on Instagram today, and then it might change tomorrow because the algorithm is gonna change, people are not gonna see much value. And if you were relevant today, you might not be relevant tomorrow. So you're gonna have to think of what else you need to do, and you're gonna have to create a lot of offers. You're gonna have to create a lot of programs. Many of those programs are going to be irrelevant in a while. So how can you actually create and deliver so much value to the marketplace that is also eternal? So there is a very simple way to judge that, to know what it is. And it's really about thinking whether it existed a year ago, 5 years ago, 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, which then comes down to human psychology, comes down to human nature, comes down to the laws of nature. And that's where you want to focus. And when you focus on those things, it doesn't matter what tool comes along. It really does not. You don't have to learn all the tools anymore or show up so consistently that you can't think about anything else in your life. And no matter what, you have to sacrifice your personal life, your family, time with your family, just to be consistent in producing low value content. And so while most people in the industry think that they will be useful by giving people steps on something, well, the real value is something that you cannot even measure, something that changes people's lives, something that creates a ripple effect, and especially something about how people see themselves, who they want to become, and changing their thinking in order to help them to become the person who can then do what they want and have what they want. And you can call it impact, you can call it inspiration maybe, but that is what really delivers the most value to the marketplace. Something that changes people's lives, not for today or for tomorrow or for this month, but permanently. Something that changes people, something that changes that person you are speaking to permanently. That is what creates real value. And guess what? It doesn't really matter whether you show up with that on Facebook, if you post about it, if you create stories or reels or dance about it. I don't even know how to explain how I feel when I see this content, let's say dancing on TikTok. Famously, everybody somehow use that example, dancing on TikTok, for no specific purpose, with no specific impact, just to show up for the sake of showing up. I just don't know what to say about it. And what I know, what's going on behind the scenes, even if these people look happy, what's going on behind the scenes is really so much pressure every day to do it. I absolutely respect Gary Vee. I do. He's a great dude. He says a lot of cool things. Did you notice how he's like everywhere producing crazy amounts of content every day? And I know at this stage it's probably like in his habits like crazy, but not everyone can do it. Not everyone can do it. And I don't want to be thinking, I tried and I did that for a while, and I don't want to be doing, thinking every day, regardless of what I'm doing, how I can turn this into content. How can I cook and also make this my content? And I drop everything and then go post about it, and I've done it, and I know that my food was overflowing just because I'm on now, okay, I'm filming this and now I'm posting about this, and maybe I didn't know how to do it. I don't know. But the pressure of always thinking of how to post more and show up more and be in more places was huge, and it really sucked the energy out of me, and I don't know, focusing on it was so exhausting all the time. So so the point is that you don't need to think about how to be in more places more consistently. You need to think about how to show up more powerfully. You need to think about how to show up with intention to change people's lives, to help people become better, to help people change permanently. So that is one thing. The other thing, what else is eternal? And this is a very simple tool and such a powerful tool. I cannot tell you how powerful it is. And I think that it's still undervalued in our industry, is storytelling. And scientists show that storytelling is so powerful that it rewires people's brain. It changes them permanently. Not only that, because of how it works, actually, when you have an offer, if you sell your offer using story, it increases the value, legitimately, the value of your offer, just because you are telling a story. And I remember I used to use this example when I was on holidays in Lithuania. Now I do live in Lithuania, but back then I lived in Ireland, and I was on holidays, on summer holidays, and I was passing by a bookstore, and I saw this kid's book in the window, and automatically I was in the door, through the door, straight to the book, and straight at the counter without even asking or looking at the price. And I could tell you, no, it's a kid's book. It's about this rabbit who was opening a school. You should get it. It's a good book. But I could also tell you a story how I was on holidays and I found this book that I hadn't seen for, I don't know, since I was a small girl. And it was a new edition of that exact same version of that book that my grandmother used to read to me so much that I knew it by heart. And then when I was 5 years old and my dad took me to a kids' library, it was the very first book I actually got in the library, even though I knew it by heart. But now I wanted to read it all by myself. Can you see how suddenly the value of this book goes up straight away just because I told you a story instead of just showing you the book, good book, the author is this and that, the title of the book is this and that, and you should get it, your kids will enjoy it. Stories are powerful. We are wired for stories. Use them. They create a lot of value. And then the third thing I want to mention, obviously, there are many more things, but these are the fundamentals. Fundamentals you can use. Anyone can use. Instead of learning a new trick on social, learn these things, and they will automatically reduce the grind. So the third thing is various language devices. And by that, I mean metaphors, analogies, and proverbs. The good news of, is that proverbs, a lot of proverbs are, they already exist and you can borrow them. They exist in creations of people, folk, literature, poems, songs, and many of them you already know. It's just a case of finding proverbs that suit you. One of my favorite proverbs I use from time to time is something along the lines of a ship is safe in the harbor, but that's not what ships are for. The beauty of it is that you say such a tiny thing, but it brings so much value and it has so much meaning. And it's so concise and short, but it tells a lot. Also, you can create your own proverbs. So learning how to create proverbs is also very valuable. Metaphors and analogies. Did you notice how I started this episode with a couple of analogies? One about a bucket, pouring water into a bucket with holes, and another one about junk food, to show you how business world is full of junk advice and how you actually need the nutrients, not just short-lived and also damaging satisfaction, damaging to your system, So metaphors are all over the place, analogies are all over the place, and when you open your mind to that, you can actually create your own as well. You can link whatever you want to say, whatever concepts you are expressing into the marketplace for your audience, you can always link them to some analogies. And actually, the fourth one that I just thought about, which is also very important, is the language that paints a picture in your audience's mind, in your person's mind, eye. So what do I mean? It's one thing to speak, with broad concepts about something. One thing is to say, and you will stop grinding and you will be happy, or you will have freedom. And another thing to say what it's gonna look like. You're gonna be able to travel, you're gonna be able to give better presents for Christmas for your kids. You're gonna have time to read a book for your children and peaceful, quiet time to do a bedtime for them. And you're gonna be able to put delicious, flavorsome food, dinners on the table for your family, and you're gonna embrace those Saturday night dinner tradition with your family. You're gonna finally have time for that. So it's another skill to embrace. And it's kind of it's not even a skill, it's just knowing about it, having awareness about it, and using it in your language, in your offers, in how you sell your message, and when you communicate with people. And so I do believe that focusing on these fundamentals is what really brings a lot of value to the marketplace. And you get rewarded in direct proportion of what you bring to the marketplace. It's just normal. The only problem is that people believe that value is in the steps and processes and tactics and stories, as in stories as a Facebook or Instagram tool, Reels, TikTok algorithm, knowing the algorithm. It's not true. And if you want to stop chasing freedom, if you want to stop being freedom chaser, stop chasing those short-lived tools. Think if they existed last year, 5 years ago. If they didn't, chances are they are short-lived and they're not going to be around a year later. So that's what I would like you to hear. And I think this is where everything starts in terms of stepping out from the grind into the freedom, if that's what you are doing this for. The fundamentals of human nature. And when you embrace these fundamentals, everything else is just dots on the ice. And this is where you want to start. And I hope this was useful. I want you to start thinking differently about how you bring your value to the table, into the marketplace, because this is a big piece of the do part of the be, do, have equation. So please share this, please follow, share. Let's make the idea of freedom being a path, not a destination, the default in our industry. Together. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll talk to you next time.